jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
Yo, big shout out to the hottest chat in the MF game. A-Side official. No negotiations needed, period. You already know we in 2026 and we back with another one. Salute to my brother, Mr. Gumbo, the first on deck, man. I see you. Shout out. Hope everything is well with you on the roadways. I know it's cold, weather change and all that. But salute to the truck drivers out there, man. Salute to a real one. You know, we talk on and off. And I always appreciate you being there for convo, big dog. Shout out to AB in the building. What's good with it, AB? Hope all is well your way. As you can tell, I've been under the weather for a minute. I came down with a goddamn infection, man. A respiratory infection. So, brother been down for like 4 weeks, man. Crazy. But it's good to be back on here and without all the coughing, Salute to you, man. Shout out to my guy G5 Gabe in the building. What's good with the G5, man? May all is well your way. You know what I'm saying? You know how social media is, man. It's different seasons, right? So we all go through shit, and it's good to see the ones that, that I don't interact with on the continuous because I haven't been on here, still show up on the lives. I appreciate it, man. Dropping through, showing support. At the end of the day, the common denominator is what? Talking boxing, general topics, you know what I'm saying? Shit like that. And keep it going. You already know. Shout out to my guy MKB in the building, Monty King Boxing. He's one of these expeditionaries. He be on everybody's channel. MKB, he be everywhere, dog. Salute to you. Hope all is well, man. You enjoying your freaking year. Shout out to everybody who pulled up, yo. Just give me time. I'm gonna get back on track, yo. Man, I'm good, bro. Just staying out of the way. Yeah, for sure. I feel you. So as you already know, right? If you saw the thumbnail, quality of boxing media is at its lowest, in my opinion. IMO. The reason why I got to put IMO out there because it's people that's always gonna critique your authenticity, especially on this social media shit when it comes to numbers. But ultimately, what they should be paying attention to is what you're actually saying. Everybody has opinion, and we already know opinions are absent of facts, right? But it's dependent on what you're talking about and how you're addressing the matter. I've been on social media off of social media consistently for a while, right? Because, it got to a point where I'm like, everybody's just going at each other, and then they talking about the same thing over and over again. And then it's more so on what negativity is going on with some of these boxers. They want to talk about it. I've spoke on boxers, out here messing up a little bit. I just look at it like, okay, was I messing up in my 20s? Was I messing up in my 30s? Was I out there doing some things I shouldn't have been doing? Yeah. But I'm speaking in the sense of the boxing media and the interest of those channels or those media segues out here that's been on here long enough to be able to be a bit more creative. If you're saying you have the numbers, it should be a lot more creativity out here that draws in this crowd You know, we have crowds that's constantly searching for another genre to pay attention to. And boxing is an annual sport. All year round, boxing is an annual sport. But it got to a point where the content, the criteria was more so off the common path of what do we want to see in boxing? Who do we want to see? You know, what matchups? Just speaking of like fantasy type stuff, or speaking in the sense of, you know, a certain division and saying, okay, this is going to happen. Kind of have a sense of what matchups we want to see, what fighter we want to see matched up, and all that. We know politics plays a huge, significant role in certain fights not happening in divisions. We see certain divisions that has the names, the quality of champions that's in there, and the up and coming risers. We see them there, but it get to a point where you say to yourself, is the Tank Davis is really gonna fight Chris Stevenson? Is he gonna fight this person, that person? And he's always in the open for criticism because he, you know, he pretty much put himself out there, El Chinchecker. You know, one of my favorite fighters, no doubt. But when it comes down to it, when people speak of him, they have to understand he still has skills, but also I put out there a good while ago that boxers will always be a part of domestic violence because their primary target of punch placement is the head. Not only does boxing require you to have a limited range from the belt line up to the head, which is considered legal striking points on a body, but also you have to look at this. The same thing happens in sparring. Not all these boxers wear headgear and protective gear in sparring. And if you want to kind of gander around and depending on who you talk to, some trainers will tell you that headgear is more harmful to use during sparring than not wearing none at all. We went through a similar process in the Olympics where they wore headgear, where they removed headgear. What I'm trying to say is damage can happen in boxing, in sparring, training for a fight, and on the night of the fight. If you're getting beat up in training and then you go on fight night and you have a tough fight, I mean, you just went through fight camp, got out of fight camp, and you have to step into ring for a night, depending on who you are, 6, 8, 10, 12 rounds, you got to go back in there and scrap again. So that's a lot of punishment. You know, Deontay Wilder used to say it all the time that the head ain't meant to take this type of punishment. He's not the first boxer to say it, but it's been put out there, right? So you see all these things going around. So the media guys, in my opinion, they want to gravitate to any type of negativity that's going on with the boxers. Teofimo Lopez, you know, he had his stint where, you know, he was out there saying racist stuff, right? Ryan Garcia, you know, even Devin Haney had his situation where he said he'd never lose to a white boy, right? You had the Charlo brothers. The Charlo brothers has always been in the media, and we know this. The Charlo brothers has always been out there, but yet a lot of media members protected them because they was on the PBC excursion. You know, they was doing like this censorship thing where they refused to talk about PBC fighters that was out there messing up. Why? Because they wanted to be in the good graces to get that credential, hopefully. You know, they didn't want to piss nobody off just in case they wanted to show up to a fight and they say, oh, no, you're not getting into the fight because we heard what you said online. Is that part of the problem when it comes to, you know, boxing media, that at one point in time, it was all about in good faith on what work you was putting in, whether it be videography, photography, you know what I'm saying? Going to the gyms, showing support. At one point in time, you know, going in there for boxing media, it has some authenticity to it. It had some integrity to it. The integrity was you was there in support of the fighters. But then it got to a point where politics began to precipitate into it. Then you have people getting on the phone and sending texts. And it got to a point where if you wanted to be media under a certain promotional banner, you had to censor yourself. You had to say certain things. So that's when you begin to see the transition. The lemon happened. The lemon happened right in front of you. The transformation happened. You had people willing to sell themselves out just to be able to cover fights on a certain promotional banner. So the media quality start to decrease, reduce itself tremendously. Why? Because they was all about kissing the booties of the fighters just to get in and get credentials. Then once you got them credentials, they put all these restrictions on you. I'm speaking from experience. But then you have some that will go over to the they'll find out that that particular promotion isn't it, and they go over there to the next promotion. So it really depleted whatever integrity that was going on with, the so-called YouTube media, to the point where it was just sporadic, man. It wasn't no quality to it anymore. People was just trying to slander fighters at any chance they get. I'm talking about the media pundits that are microphone advocates. They are not allowed to go to fights on a regular basis. Those individuals are a huge contributor to the depleted quality of boxing media too, because it's a lot that you learn by going to fights. The ones that sit behind the mic and never attend these fights, all they're doing is going off third party, fourth party information. They're listening to other media channels, extracting their content and going live based off what they heard in a consolidated effort to redistribute that information out like they know what they're talking about. And a lot of them have sit up here and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And it really messes up media quality, because you're talking about individuals that really don't go to boxing. Now, you can learn to box. I mean, you can learn about boxing from anywhere. But I'm speaking about current boxing events and certain fighters and the media scrums that you're able to attend while you're at fight week. It's a lot of one-on-one private sidebar conversations you can have with a fighter that teaches you a lot. You know what I'm saying? It just teaches you a whole hell of a lot. Now, I'm not talking about the guys and girls who go around here and they're boxing fans, enthusiasts, and they go on these channels and chats and they're just talking and they're going on panels. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the ones who are running the channels and they're claiming to be something super special. So they're willing to do anything, backstab, cutthroat, you know what I'm saying, talk behind your back, say this and that, just to try to get a step closer to boxers who are important. But my whole deal is, at this point, how does boxing media, which once upon a time they attempted to stamp themselves as YouTube boxing community, how can they regain traction and come up with top quality boxing media? Like, how do you do that without saying the same thing, without sitting up here making it all personal, going into people's personal lives? Let's get to certain examples of that, right? Because people are going to say, well, WCS, you've been on certain live streams and you said this and that about certain people. I'm not up here, talking about what I didn't do. I'm just talking about how the transition has happened with the boxing media, and the quality is just pure trash. Like, the quality of distribution and the message that they sending out to the public is all about controversy. What can you pull up on this fighter? What's the depth of the aquatics that you willing to swim to find dirt on a fighter, or to tear a fighter down because they didn't look good in a fight, right? How do you clean it up, sanitize boxing media, and get people back tuned in to straight boxing talk? Because most of what we listen to today is what's going on in the boxers' lives. Like the Charlos, for instance. The Charlos, man, and anybody who know, I know MKB, Gumbo, Shaw, and a lot of other people that's been C-Dub, the crew, AB, BG, all them cats that's been around, they will tell you back in the day when I told them that the Charlo brothers should fight each other at that particular time. Why? Because the money would be good to see two twins. And all they used to say is what? These boxing channels out here that was protecting PBC. Nah, man, they're brothers. They say they'll never fight each other. But right now, they're steadily once again resurfacing, fighting in the media. And Jamel Charlo is talking as if he didn't know his brother was on some type of psychedelics. We actually witnessed. I myself was down there in Roy Jones' Bodyhead when Charlo came down there in preparation for his fight camp with Benavidez. He came down there to get his head clear. He did interviews. Myself and a plethora of others was so happy that Charlo looked like he was getting his head clear. Me having the opportunity to finally interview Charlo outside of the promotion, exclusively on the compound of Roy Jones Jr., the legend. I can see how Charlo can piss people off with his mentality, grouping all media together. But it seemed like at one point in time, he came down there, and this was already being made aware of that he was on something. Roy's whole intent was to get his head clear. He was down there in Florida, and it seemed like that's what he did. He came in looking focused, dialed in, and for a moment, it looked like everything was cool. But on the flip side, we know the Charlos has always been on social media, going back and forth, disrespecting each other's girls and all this shit. For the life of me, right? This shouldn't even be any news. The only news I want to hear is both of the Charlos gonna fight. Because Jamel Charlo was able to be blessed with taking the spot of Jamal Charlo to fight Canelo. Who showed up to that fight? Jamal showed up to that fight. And a lot of people love to see that. And for one point in time, it seemed like they was getting back. They always had their little difficulties and all that, and they have their own personality. But the crazy part is about people talking about, Jamel Charlo coming out saying all this, but this has been old news. This is the soot that you always see floating on the top of those boxing canals. When all that trash, media and info just sit around on standing water and you just see the film on top. That's sort of like the Charlo news. That's been around for quite some time. It will always be there. Nothing's going to change. Just like we hear this all the time, and then the media people grab hold to it, and then they start placing judgment on the Charlos. When I said it a long time ago, I said the Charlos for twins, they can make money. They can't make money fighting separate because they failed at being two main events at one point in time. They failed. So if you really want to talk about business and then getting back to family, they should have just fought each other. That's all they should have did. And give the boxing community something positive to talk about. Because we already know they don't like each other for real. But we, get together and start pressing the message. Hey, maybe the Charlo twins can make some good, solid money and get his brother back online if they fight each other. But I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm just saying that this psychedelic stuff, man, we already knew he'd been on some stuff. Jamel need to stop tripping. Both of these cats has been in public acting goofy at one point in time in their lives. So it's nothing new. Moving on. If we're talking about Keyshawn Davis. I really, had high hopes, and I believe he's young enough to get it turned around. But I see where, people would be talking about him leaving B&B, and the fact that he switched up his whole team. He now supposed to be a born again Christian. When it comes to religion with WCS, to each his own on how you feel. I'm not going to get into any type of in-depth theology, type of rendition of, let me break down a whole entire revival process. Let me do some lives and have a 1 through 6 revival and teach you all about Christianity and boxing and how you should change your life around and fight for the Holy Spirit. Keyshawn has to do what Keyshawn has to do. He has to find what makes him calm, cool, collective, and what doesn't get him distracted. I thought when Keyshawn, he had the no contest, he popped positive for marijuana. I thought he had the right people around him to keep him grounded, to anchor him when he's about to go out here and make a poor decision, to give him the guidance that he needs when he's about to go out here and use poor judgment. I still, have high support for Keyshawn Davis, hopefully, his next fight. But at the end of the day, y'all have to understand, when we don't see these fighters, we don't know what they're going through. So if somehow, some way Keyshawn was out here drinking, should that be the whole topic of Keyshawn, of him or him potentially fighting Jermaine Ortiz? If Keyshawn been out here drinking during camp, right? That just goes to show me. That just goes to show that you can be around greatness. That doesn't mean it's going to rub off on you like Vicks Vapor Rub. It's going to get deep in your pores, and you're going to be able to inhale that and really breathe different. When you're in the presence of greatness, you say, "Okay, I feel it. I feel what I need to feel. Now I got it." These cats can be around greatness all day long. That doesn't mean that they can take over. It doesn't mean they can assume the duties of that legend or that great fighter that they're around. It's hard to do. You might be in the company, you might be around that community, but it doesn't mean you can lock in to everything that this fighter has going on in their whole mentality on how they go through their life. So somebody should be able to go to Keyshawn and say, "Hey, I know boxing is tough sometimes. We don't know what's going on behind these walls, but we just want to make sure you get help." That's what camaraderie is for. I really hope he get his stuff together, because it's a lot of negativity going on out here in boxing, and it just seems like that's what media tags on to. It's not even the skill set of the boxer no more. It's like, what can we find out this negative about a boxer? And like I said, I'm not coming out here like I'm a black angel or something. And I have a luminous light around me with a halo. I've sat up here and criticized fighters, but I try not to get personal about a fighter's life. Like it just seems like I haven't missed nothing. I hear all these channels talking about numbers, but I step away and ain't nothing changing. It's nothing changing. You got cats out here talking about how educated and thorough and intelligent that they are. You don't have to be intelligent to do boxing media. All you have to do is pay attention to the players in the game. Boxers come from all walks of life, the streets and everything else. They're not coming in here with scholastic freaking scores that you're going to say, "Oh my God, we have a sport full of geniuses." No, they're coming in here and being taught something that deals with physical remediation. Yes, you have to tap into your neurological headquarters. Psychologically, you have to train your mind to receive and send. And if you're physically able to get to a certain point that's considered special, earning a title, coming world champion, that just goes to show you can come off the street, you can come out of jail, You can be any one of those people who said, I had a checkered past, but I came in the box and made some of myself. Same thing with boxing media. Why do people continue try to prove that they're smarter than everybody else? All you have to do is go on about it, pick the topics, and speak to the people where it's clear and concise, and they understand what your message is. Like it's pertaining to boxing. It's a lot of negativity. Even when David Benavidez popped dirty, he lost his title. It's negative shit is gonna happen all the time in boxing. But it seems like now people got so bored that you have channels that's going back and forth to one another. That's the boxing content. That's the boxing content. You going back and forth at somebody else because boxing doesn't have fights that interest you. So you got to find some other content that piques your interest and those who support you in the chat. It happens all the time. But my point is, I don't think boxing has truly recovered since the pandemic. We've had some pretty decent fights that happened in 2025. But the media coverage was marginal. You know what I'm saying? The media coverage was beneath the lowest bar. And the reason why I say that, you know what fight I'm talking about. Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez should have been getting extensive media coverage, right? This wasn't just an average fight because it consisted of above average, advanced, elite fighters that's participating in this fight. If you want to talk about all the intrigue and the approbation of this fight, it was there. You had everything you needed. The suspense of Crawford not fighting ever at 168 or 160. Him being undisputed, both fighters being undisputed, world champions. Both fighters have multiple championships. Both fighters campaigning on the pound for pound list. This fight to be in this century, right, was perfect. Canelo and Crawford was more perfect than Crawford Spence. Even though there was a marination process, right, that was going on year after year after year, chopping it up, building with Crawford and Spence at 147. It was nothing comparable to Canelo Alvarez being one of those fighters that's the face of boxing. A fighter that seems unbeatable in a consistency. You know what I'm saying? Not the fact he lost to Floyd Mayweather, but the fact that people looked at Canelo Alvarez as being this all-around fighter that can figure out pretty much any style if he wanted to and get the W. But also you can say that about Crawford. Crawford was one of those guys that's considered a finisher. But the lack of respect he got for being outside of the media, hanging out in the shade, showing disinterest, and I understand what his complaint would be. That just wasn't his line. He just wasn't motivated to be in the media. But coming full circle to 2025, the boxing media could have did a way better job. But see, the problem is there was a lot of media out here more so getting personal with what Crawford had going on and what they thought about Crawford. And it really never halted the process in him becoming great. Or should I say greater? It never really slowed down the process. You had a lot of media members, they would tell you, oh man, look at my numbers, look at my videos. But when it came to them covering a quality fight, they tried their best to make sure the fight never happened. They talked so ill about Crawford to the point Crawford responded, right? all the foolishness that took place, talking about how the man looked, what he was doing in his personal life and all that. I mean, if you want to talk about dirty laundry, I mean, the machines was spinning. They was out there over and over again leading up to that. Over and over again. And they couldn't stop what happened on July 29th. It still went down the way that Crawford fans wanted to get down. But who would have ever thought that boxing media would have the opportunity to cover Canelo and freaking Crawford? But what they rather did, they deterred it. They really wasn't promoted in the sense of boxing enthusiasts. All they wanted to do is basically dichotomize it into two halves. And it's supposed to be a good half and a bad half, but most of it was the bad outweighed the good. Just like they say, good bows before evil. It just seems like when it came down to the media, they was dissuading this fight from ever happening and trying to get people to say, no, this fight ain't happening. You shouldn't even pay attention. You shouldn't even be interested. Why? Because Crawford, who is Crawford? Crawford only got a Spence that had an accident. They was busy up here just deterring, just saying, no, we don't want to see this. But really, the boxing community wanted to see it. They just didn't think the fight could happen. They didn't have belief because when they came over here to get some media blitz, right? They was disappointed. It was lacking substance. Because here we go. We talk about fighters in the past challenging themselves. You talk about how fighters moved up weight classes and challenging themselves in the past, right? But then with this new age, this new era, you have the opportunity to really analyze. You have the IT services to go in there and research information. I mean, you have AI for days, just give you input. You have resources to go out here and study and get your details in line, right? But for this fight, 2 weight classes up, 2 qualified pound for pound fighters. I mean, accolades and achievements for extended on and on as long as you can see it. Grab a pair of binos. They had everything that you was looking for in a mega fight. That shit was a mega fight, yo. And the boxing media destroyed it. The boxing media refused to even participate in showing enthusiasm and showing how dedicated they was to their craft to make this one of the biggest fights in the media. All they was doing is just shutting it down. They just looked at Canelo look okay against Skull, but then they were saying that he was going to go out there and destroy and knock out Crawford. When Turki Al-Sheikh went out here and put the information and then said the fight is not going to happen because Canelo wanted to go out there and attempt to fight Jake Paul, there was people up here throwing their hands up, cheering. Man, they was so jolly about that, right? They said, this is what we've been waiting on. He's not fighting Crawford. He's going to fight. They'd rather see Canelo Alvarez fight a fighter who just got his jaw almost surgically removed by Anthony Joshua's right hand in front of millions. They wanted Canelo to go fight Jake Paul. Instead of Canelo going in there and fighting a legitimate contender. And then this is another big question of mine, right? This is a simple freaking question. If we consider ourselves to be boxing media, the community itself, right? And within this community, we supposed to have a certain sense of knowledge. We supposed to be able to commandeer. We have the good and the bad. We have the resources to go out here and just look at film, this, that, and the other, right? We have everything to consent that we went out here and did our due diligence to look up this information. That's what we have the capabilities to do. Why wouldn't boxing media want to see, if you believe Bud couldn't get it done, but he's qualified, his resume says qualified, why wouldn't you speak more so on, hey, I'm curious to see if this fight can actually happen? Why? Because Bud is undefeated, and Canelo, even though he has 2 losses on his record, it was against 2 champions. Floyd Mayweather, we don't have to even critique him. One of the best ever to do it in the game. Dimitri Bivol, champion at the time, bigger body, heavier weight class. Canelo still went up there. But why couldn't we just join forces and say, hey, this has more challenging points to it than a lot of fights we have going on right now. So why don't we just start speaking on it in a way of the do's and don'ts, the pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. Speak on this fight like it's one of the biggest fights of the century, because it was. It's just certain people was lingering in the past because they didn't support Crawford like that. They didn't like Crawford back then because they looked at him as being this Nebraska fighter that no one really gave a damn about, even though he was out there winning belts. They didn't respect his opponent because after he beat him, they never was the same. They just wanted to continue to talk about Jokic Gamboa, yo. He moving up and fighting that tough Aussie, Jeff Horn. They didn't give him no credit for it, even though he had been in the ring with Manny Pacquiao. But it was the same Manny Pacquiao they wanted to fight Errol Spence. They wanted Manny Pacquiao to fight Errol Spence after he was beat by Jeff Horn, the same fighter that Terrence Crawford fought. But they didn't want to give Terrence Crawford credit for beating Jeff Horn. But they would have gave Errol Spence credit for beating Manny Pacquiao if he wouldn't have got his eye hurt. You know what I'm saying? Just like the same Errol Spence that was talking about fighting Canelo Alvarez on 47 when Canelo was at 68. This is where boxing media fails and clashes and burn, because they sit up here and play this biasness, right? And they put enough hot air in that bitch and it doesn't even leave the ground. They blow it up with enough hot air and they say, oh, this is going to go far. It doesn't. They was up here rooting, ran, and talking about, yeah, we want to see Errol Spence fight Canelo. 3 weight classes. But when Bud Crawford wanted to do it after gaining his title at 54, they went right back to talking shit about him like they did before he even really went on that run at 147 when he began to build a rival with Errol Spence. A lot of people, to their confusion and delirium, they call themselves boxing enthusiasts, right? But if you're moving up to a weight class and you have a fighter up there starting to call out these fighters that's supposed to be the king of the weight classes, then therefore your likability should say, well, I like this fighter, Errol Spence. I want to see, can he beat Bud? I want to see, can he beat that person? I want to see, can he beat that person? I mean, I would assume that's how it's supposed to go. If a person's moving up to a weight class and you telling them to get a belt, wouldn't boxing media want to just promote that? No, you know what boxing media is saying? No, Errol Spence ain't got to fight him. Who is he? Spence don't have to fight him. Who is he? And at the time, Spence only had 1 belt. 1 freaking belt, yo. Crawford had way more accolades and championships than Spence when he moved up to 47. But boxing media tried their damnedest to tear that fight down before it even happened. That's why it took so long, because they started here talking about other side of the street. They didn't want to see a simple fight happen if they was claiming Bud Crawford wasn't qualified to step in the ring with Spence, even though his cachet, his briefcase of titles was already heavy as it was. And Errol Spence had a Kell Brook. I mean, how many briefcases do you need for IBF title. Crawford already came up there and he was already undisputed before. So his qualifications were there. Then he came over there and picked up a belt. And that whole division, man, it was almost like a eulogy to me. It was just a pending eulogy because they attempted to say that they can stop the inevitable just based off criticism. But Crawford kept winning. And then you had Keith Thurman saying the same shit. Hey, get a belt. Keith Thurman telling Errol Spence, just get a belt. Errol Spence telling Crawford, get a belt, and all this other shit. And then Keith Thurman unwilling to fight Errol Spence. Look, I don't know how that would have went. But I would have liked to see Errol Spence, Keith Thurman touch gloves for a unification bout. That would have been great. But Crawford, he had to continue to fight as he did, take the criticism from the media, continue to hear people doubt him. And then when the fight was finally pushed to the brink, with people saying it's going to happen, it's not going to happen, he went in there and made Spence look like he was mediocre. He made him look like he was a tyro. He dominated, yo. He crushed this media. That one fight in 2023 shut down so many media outlets on the YTC. It was just crazy, insanely crazy. That fight shut down channels without Bud ever placing a fingertip, without Bud even sending any closed air support, without him even lighting one dynamite, throwing one grenade. He crushed him. Because the mindset of these so-called boxing enthusiasts, right? If you are so-called one of the best to do it, then you have to open up your mind enough to say, well, it's a possibility that this outcome can happen. It's a possibility that outcome can happen. Just like I said, Errol Spence has 0% chance of beating Crawford. I looked at it like, as many times I look back and forth at certain fights, I just felt like Spence and his variety, his skill set, there's a lot of areas that he remediated the same type of punch combinations, and him being flat-footed, nice volume, nice power to his punches and all that. I just felt like Bud's IQ was better than Spence. I felt like he had more options to his offensive strategy, and overall tactically, I just felt like he was a more vicious fighter. People said Spence come forward, but tacticians, when you have a fighter that can strategize and sit up here and use their freaking boxing IQ effectively and thoroughly, that's a dangerous ass fighter. A fighter that can still punish you without taking punishment. And that's what Bud was showing. And when he went in there and did that to Spence, it crushed a lot of channels on here that felt that they was right about a lot of shit. It crushed him. Even though I said Spence has 0%, in my head, I'm saying, of course, Spence is going to go in there and give it his best shot. But ultimately, what I'm looking at as far as Crawford, I'm looking at his overall ability. I'm looking at his mindset. The man has been proving himself for a long time. So you get somebody that's acclimated and that's driven into their head. Their adrenaline base is different. Their drive is different. Their motivation to train is different. And that's what I seen. And I say, man, it's so many people that looked, but yet they weren't paying attention to when they had that meeting in Oklahoma, I believe. And Crawford said he'll stop him. Errol Spence, there's no way that he can even fathom that a light fighter as they call Crawford, would come up there and stop him. He couldn't fathom that. In an imaginary, if he was just sitting there relaxing in a rest state, to a point where him being in the ring training, and its adrenaline is much higher than it usually is, and he's like, "Nah, man, I feel good right now." What are you talking about? I done took this punch, I done took that punch, and man, this dude is not stopping me. There's no way in hell this dude's stopping me, yo. But the boxing media couldn't see it that way, and they went in there and got their hearts, their soul, their mind, and their motivation to cover boxing crushed. I was thinking as more so educational, for it to be educational to these cats. The reason why I say that is they got taught a valuable lesson. They got taught a valuable lesson for conduct unbecoming, expelled, and it should have gave them enough time to go out here and reevaluate how they go about covering boxing and just take a little time off and come back and be better. But they took like 48 hours to give freaking Crawford his credit before they went back to saying the same stuff they were saying before he went in there and dispersed suspense the way he did in easy fashion. So you would think that would somewhat resonate over to when he stepped up there, he fought freaking Madrimov, and they were saying that he looked slow, lethargic. His legs looked like they was groggled. You know, he looked like he was antiquated. It looked like he was in the elder stage of boxing. His legs didn't seem balanced, slow. But yet when he came in there and fought Canelo Alvarez, it was somewhat the same hush when he went in there and fought Spence. There was a lot of people in that stadium that was there for Crawford, that was rooting for Crawford, but it was even more that was there root for Canelo, in my opinion, right? The expectations of the opening bell was just as shocking as seeing Spence get knocked down in the second round. When they came out and seeing Crawford pressing the issue early on in the fight, it was a lot of people looking at each other left to right. Oh, Jesus Christ. Man, don't worry about 12 rounds. Man. I don't like this feeling right here. I don't like that. I don't like that feeling right there, though. Why he coming out pressing like that? Man, I thought he'd give Canelo respect, man. Just keep distance, paw with the jab a little bit, move around, get loose, let this fight play out a little bit. And then in the mid rounds, we start to see who's going to take the momentum. But he's coming out already. Pop, pop. I'm thinking I'm at the movies. I'm in popcorn. Pop, pop. He started popping the jab out there. He was more acting what people thought. And once again, Crawford is showing us a different side of who he is as a fighter. He's showing us that the tip of the blade is a lot sharper than people gave him credit when he was cutting through the 47 division. When he just totally cut through the 47-pound division and beat the man, supposedly, and then say finally he moving up 2 division. They couldn't handle it. It was too much, man. When the fight kept on going on, and we were seeing that Crawford was willing to engage with a fighter who they say, oh, he's going to punch you in the left deltoid. He's going to punch you in the goddamn bicep, tricep. A lot of fighters can't survive that type of freaking impact, that type of punching power. But Crawford was ready. One of the best fights of this era, where media had the opportunity to blow this up into something special. But Crawford had them shook, man. Crawford had these channels that can call themselves this, that, and the other. He had them shook. Because just what happened, what he did to Spence, they was talking a little dribble here and there, but they was unwilling to commit to say, yeah, Canelo's going to go in here and win. They knew Crawford was dangerous, but they just didn't want to verbally give him the confirmation out loud, because now they can come back and say, I told you so. You know how you hear a lot of these cats say, oh, I told you. Like they get some extra freaking interest and points. Oh, I told you this was gonna happen. I mean, did we tell you that Crawford was gonna beat Canelo ass like that? That fight right there should have been talked about more than Crawford Spence. Because we're talking about two certified, legitimate. Not saying Spence wasn't certified because he was on the pound for pound list too. But I'm talking about two certified, multi-divisions, multiple division champions, Crawford and Canelo. Stamped, certified. It wasn't no ifs, no ands, no buts. And the media blew it. Blew it so much to the fact that after the fight was over with, you had them cats not even wanting to talk about it. You have up and coming fighters. Once these old guard is out, Crawford, congratulations you. Having your retirement, you earned every bit of your career. Canelo, he's gonna probably go get another multi-million-dollar fight and do what Canelo does. But for the old guard transitioning out, if you include the Deontay Wilders and all the older cats, right? We have the new guard that we should be trying as media trying to organize. We should be trying to organize, but yet it's still a little personal stuff going on. People out here trying to sort out and place certain fighters in groups on who they really want to support. I don't see how some of these channels get away with instigating freaking drama between these fighters. How, like, if I talk a certain way about a fighter, then the fighter that was supposed to be the opponent, I don't think he would have vested interest to come up here and do an interview with me. But somehow, some way, man, I'm telling you, it's something in the tea, yo. It's just something in the weather where some of these channels are able to have both fighters on and instigate shit. And these fighters ain't getting mad about that. I don't know if they a day late on trying to put themselves out there for exposure to get better promo because the promotion ain't doing it. I guess that's what it is. I think they just out there getting free publicity, and they're willing to go on channels and respond to that. And the host of the channels that's able to do this, I myself, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to have somebody on there and I was like, this fighter was criticizing his opponent. And maybe I didn't correct him on anything because I'm not trying to show bias. And then that fighter want to get on here and talk. And he want to give their side of the story. I don't know, man. That happens a lot this time. I just can't figure it out. I don't know why fighters are going on these channels that actually be instigating certain things. Fighters up here losing fights, and a particular channel have the winner on, and they'll be cracking jokes somewhat here and there, and then they have the guy who lost, and you going up there on a channel that was up there just cracking jokes on how you lost and everything like that. But y'all be up there just, I gotta just do a reaction to it may have looked a certain way, but it didn't feel. No. I mean, that's what you get this day and time. To me, it's just very minimal interest that I see in the growth aspect of it. The same thing they say about my channel. I mean, hey, I don't know how many times I gotta speak to them in an exaggerated manner, but I'm here to talk about what I talk about. I can leave here and be just fine. Some of you cats have to continue to sit here every day on time so that money won't go down. You stay in the algorithm, and I salute you from afar. Hey, I'm gonna be all right, man. I salute you from afar. Moving on, Schofield. I don't know what's going on with the Schofields, man, but they've been the target of people that just quickly to rebuke anything they have going on in boxing. And my only thing, I just want to see you, Kid Austin, step into a fight where we can respect as fight fans and stop just your name popping up and then it popping out. Like, are you gonna fight somebody of stature credibility, and we continue to see you keep on growing because all this injury shit. You did the thing over there in London, and then you had another big fight coming. You had to pull out of that one. I don't know what's going on, and I'm not getting into it with his pops. I don't feel no type of way. I'm not close to his pops. I am talk to his pops like that. The man, the way he valet his personality, that's him. I mean, that's him, dude. He valet his shit like that. I mean, it's confusing to me, but I ain't got nothing to do with that. I hear a lot of people keep on talking about it, but that's him and his son, Abdullah Mason. I appreciate what's going on with his family. I mean, they were solid anyway from when I met them or whatever. They've been solid anyway. You know, I wish nothing but the best for Abdullah Mason. Hope he stay on track and continue to grow. I think he should. If he's not in a division that's going to grow, his interest in expanding or whatever route he's trying to take as a fighter now that he's a champion, he should move on to another division if that's within the team's intent. If that's on the itinerary to move him effectively. But I like Abdullah Mason. Jahal Tucker is still out there, one of the best fighters in the game. He's still in boxing. I guess he's getting some training. I haven't heard too much from him, but I have seen his training videos out there. One of the best fighters in the game. One of the best all-around fighters in the sport. I think his time will come, and he's still young, still talented, a mover. My tag for him is Electric Boogie. I still think Jahal Tucker is definitely going to make his run in a career. He's going to be noted for being one of the best to lace up the gloves. I love watching Jahal Tucker fight. Salute to Electric Boogie, man. Also, this out there, you got the Gary Antoine Russell, man. He's talented. I hope he's able to get back into a nice little heavy title fight. We got Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. Hey, who don't want to see this fight? Of course we want to see this fight, man. Of course we do. Because we see the training that's going on with Shakur Stevenson, Bud. I'm not gonna say, we waiting on Shakur step out fight. Hey, both of these guys have multiple divisions. I feel that, like I said before, people sitting up here hit me in the DMs because I said that I think this would be a bigger win for Teofimo Lopez if he beat Shakur Stevenson. I'm just saying right now, Shakur Stevenson with his undefeated record, and who he stepped in the ring with, and his notoriety and popularity right now, Tag. I feel that, yes, he did beat Lomachenko, but Lomachenko had losses already. And also, he claimed to have a shoulder injury, even though he was on the pound-for-pound list, and T.O. went out there and dusted him off. He had to fight all the way out to the final tick now. I just feel like Shakur is not considered that old guy. He's considered technically, a masterful boxer. They consider him one of the more technically inclined boxers out there. And they also at one point in time were saying that about Teofimo Lopez. The T.O. is very crafty, slick, smooth. And he has decent power. He was out there laying cats down. It's a good fight. And I think the boxing community, they might not say this. They might not retrieve it from their cortex. But they know they want to see Teofimo Lopez get done something stupid for his damn racist comments. They want to, man. They just don't want to put it out there, man. They don't want to cross the synapses out to the public, man. They verbalize their discontent. What I really think, I'm going to tell you. You might say what you want to say, though. But I'm going to tell you like this. I'm wishing ill on T.O., man. Yeah, I want to see him go down dirty, man. He was up there talking about that monkey. Whoever get the banana. Yeah, there's some people still out there feeling some type of way. Because they feel that he never really was held accountable for that. He just want to play it and go on. It is what it is, and try to water it down. No, some people want to see Shakur go out there and put hands on T.O., man. And we have to see how that play out. I think that's a very good fight. I'm looking forward to it. The Subriel Matias deal. Hey, man. He's been there before. I don't know what to tell him. Anybody who listened to me, I always said, Subriel Matias, that come forward style, you only have one head on your shoulders. You continue to sit up here and knock at that motherfucking door. Let them punches bounce off your cranium displacement, that damn neurological composition that you have, and you're gonna experience some freaking outages. You're gonna experience some allergies, yo. There's some areas that was greened up and that's gonna go gray because you kept going on the inside like you was a goddamn robot, and you just wasn't willing to be patient. You just wanted to keep on showing people, I'm a Terminator, come forward, pressing style fighter, present pressure fighter. After a while, you get with the right person that can break you down, is not scared of you. They're gonna give you the result that you got there, Matias. You can't keep on just coming forward like that and take that punishment, have a quick recovery, and then think you're gonna go in there and get with somebody who's pretty damn strong, decent punching power, and they're not gonna make you pay for it. That's exactly what happened, yo. That's exactly what happened. Moving on, Brian Norman Jr. He did an interview with Cigar Talk, and one thing about Junior, right? He seemed to be in good spirits, understanding what he did not do, what he could have did better in that fight with Devin Haney. He's not speaking in a way that he's lost confidence. Like I said, the media wanted to run. First of all, the media wasn't on the side of the Normans anyway when it came to the Haneys. And I can understand because Bill Haney was in these YouTube streets long before Senior came on deck. It ain't no other father that's been in these YouTube streets more than Bill Haney, other than Teofimo Senior or something like that. I'm just saying. But at the end of the day, Haney stepped up. He looked like a 47-pounder. He filled out to the division well. It's just he made the adjustments better, and he was a better fighter that night. His adjustments, you can see it. His hand speed, pretty quick, real quick. I just felt like Junior was going to that left hook just a little bit too much. But a lot of media cats were talking about, refreshing the process that they was criticizing the Normans ahead of time, and hearing that his father's no longer in his corner. I was trying to tell people, like, boxing wasn't something, yeah, you can make some good money from boxing, but they had their own, his father had his own freaking shit going on before then. I know that for a fact. He even helped me out, with his business that he got on. So people was calling him broke, country bumpkins, whatever they were. That they had their shit going on. But at the end of the day, if Norman Jr., the fighter, the world champion, feels that he need to make a change, whether it's Derrick James or whoever, that happens in boxing. We've seen stuff go down with Sugar Shane Mosley and his father. We had stuff go down with the Haneys and his father one time people was talking about. I mean, it's been fathers all over, even T.O. and his pops. You had situations that go down with fathers who train their son all the time. But the good thing about it is that Norman seems that, he's pretty sure on the direction he wants to take, and the things he needs to work on and improve. He's not up here making excuses about anything. That's pretty much how I always known him to talk. Not to be a whiner, not out here just saying, well, it wasn't really a knockdown. It's just I had some brand new shoes on and the soles weren't quite broken in. He took it for what it was. And it was a good fight to me. I just felt like the adjustments and the data collected benefited Haney that night. But he'll be back. And I'm the one that put it out there that he should fight Rolly Romero next. I'm hearing people talking about, he need to fight Rolly Romero. I don't care about being first. I just speak what's on my mind. I really think him and Rolly Romero would be a good matchup. Real talk. Who's next coming up? Hold on for a second. Shout out to the chat, man. Shout out to y'all. Let me get to some of these comments right quick. And appreciate everybody who pulled up. Shout out to my guy, Shaw News. The Sauce Experience in the building, man. Man, check out his content, man. He done changed up the game, man. I like it. It's clean. It's clean. And like I said, he always been one of those persons that you don't have to tell him the next step to keep on moving. You know, he done absolutely freaking elevated. So, you know, check out his content. That shit is clean as hell. Shout out to the OG Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz some more. What's good with it, bro? Y'all should be calling that man up for advice on cleaning up that content. His thumbnails on a whole nother stratosphere right now, man. He said Wilder can knock that big MF down by breaking him down. That would give respect back to the boxing prowess. Okay, so I guess MKB, you talking about Chisora, right? So it's funny how you mentioned that because, you know, shout out to the Bronze Bomber. People's up here talking about that's gonna be a tough fight for Wilder, and he may not win with Derek Chisora. I like Derek Chisora as a fighter. He has multiple losses, more than Wilder. If Wilder's taking this fight, it has to be a very smart, and it has to be a choice that you feel that benefits the path that you're taking right now. Wilder said he's gonna be boxing for the next 10 years. If you're selecting to take this fight to get to Usyk, Wilder knows what he has to do. Come on now. That man is more experienced. He's been in there with some big names. He knows what he has to do with Chisora. He cannot go in there and have a bad day with Chisora and mess up this freaking Usyk fight. That's all I'm saying with the Bronze Bomber. Still one of my top fighters. I support Bronze Bomber to the end of the day. To the end of time, yo. That ain't gonna change. MKB say I blame Tank ducking Big Turk bag. Now Big Turk is getting reluctant in American. Well, you know, one thing I can't put too much emphasis on is Turkish money, because I know when he go to sleep and wake up, his bank account is flourishing. However, that liquid is flourishing, you know, it's saturating the area. It's a river of green. I mean, you know, they whole thought process when it comes to spending money is different. I agree with what you're saying. He may be getting reluctant, but he selected to insert himself into the boxing footprint over here. He did that. He wanted to travel over here to the Grid Square and insert his name over here and have some of the biggest matches. Don't get scared now. Don't get scared now, though. Yeah, no. Don't be scared now, man. The suit of making a tattoo is real in jail. Hey, shout out to Easy Work Boxing, man. What's good with it, Easy? I see you, man. MKB said, I want Jamel Charlo back more than Jamal Charlo. At least he's somewhat disciplined. You want Jamel back. I would like both fighters to come back in pretty decent opposition. That's how I look at it. See, my point with the Charlos is I expected, like, Jamal was able to become a 2-division champion. I expected more from Jamel. Jamel is now trying to latch on to an Ortiz or a freaking Ennis, right? Now, MKB, if you're talking about coming back for a fight like that at 154, cool. I'm with it. I would definitely like to see the lineal champion, you know, former undisputed Jamal Charlo, get in there with Ennis. But come on, let's get this straight. Do we believe that Eddie Hearn will actually allow that fight to happen? I don't think so. To be honest, you know what I mean? I don't think so. I don't think he wants even Jamel Charlo to step in there with Ennis, yo. I don't know if Ortiz want to step in there with Jamel Charlo. That would be two good matchups, but we can't seem to lock in. You know, it's all this duck and quack quack and this fight coming up, and then it goes away. I would definitely like to see Jamal Charlo come back and fight somebody of appraisal value, somebody with a decent boxing FICO. Yeah, man, they're never gonna give Crawford his credit and reflection. But sometimes when people don't give you something and you know you earning it anyway, you just have to let them just vast in the glory. You know, the way you shine down on people, they can't get out of it. They can't get out of it, man. They can't get out the way. They want to stand in the shadow and hate, but your light too bright. Crawford's shine too. He went out there and proved himself. So whatever impairment that they thought Crawford had, he proved them wrong. So there's nothing they can do about it. Crawford sits on the Mount Rushmore alone as a trendsetter for the new generation. Yeah, Crawford did his thing, man. 3-time undisputed. Man, come on. Crawford is Sir Crawford. He's in idolatry of boxing, man. His throne illuminates different than most that's up there. For real, it illuminates different. Hold on for a second. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I agree that Marlon King. I agree. He sits on the crown all his own, you know. Shout out to Mike in the building. What's good with it, bro? How you been? Shout out to CJ, man. Yeah. These generation of boxing fans, I don't know what they want really. I know they want some conversation, but I don't know if they're willing to create a positive mental picture on where they want to go in boxing. What you want to see in boxing? No, I just want to come in the chat and talk. I just want to. What's your favorite fighter? Do you want them to fight so and so? Do you want that fighter to embrace the challenge, or you just want to stay hidden in the shadows, just stay in the chat a little bit and talk about what you don't like about a fighter? Come on, help us understand. We need to stay on track. How do we define what your thought process is in boxing? A lot of these cats just want to be in the chat. That's all. They just want to go off what people are talking about, what's popular, what's funny. It's a new day. You have to dare to be greater. Especially what Crawford did. I would say with Usyk is a fighter that I respect too. But I believe Deontay Wilder, I say it again, that was my Muhammad Ali of this era. It would have been good if Deontay Wilder could have fought for the undisputed titles with Usyk. It would have been good if that happened. But if he's able to go back and get another shot at Usyk after defeating, I like to see that too. But Usyk is one of those guys, man. Usyk is one of those guys. Big facts. Yeah, for sure. Witness greatness 2023, for sure. No doubt about it. Never would forget who Bud Crawford is. No way, man. The best is Ariel. It really doesn't need any type of debate. I know how certain people want to go ahead and debate all the time, but there's no debating that. We can't go ahead and talk about his resume, how he looked against Madrimov. None of that. You can bicker all you want with other people that would sit up here and just do it for time, to dispense time, to waste time. It ain't no debating that. That man did it the way he wanted to do it, went out in his own rules, did it famously, the way he beat Canelo, famously. And to have a retirement and get the hell on, I don't know how long he's going to stay retired, but just imagine when he become eligible for the Hall of Fame, that shit going to be epic. And then they probably going to bring him back for another huge fight. Who knows, man? I'm happy for him either way it goes. And I'm happy for the ones who hated on me for freaking, supporting Bud the way I did. It didn't matter. And we know how hard Spence hits, and Canelo Bud is the Achilles of America. Hey, man. They kept underestimating that man and gave him extra energy. The type of energy you can't get out of GNC there, MKB. You can't get that Bud energy through creatine. You can't buy nothing off the shelf to get that Bud energy. Sometimes you can buy the energy that he generates internally along with his mindset. I mean, that's something that you only have one-on-one to yourself. Your genome code different. Yeah, we did, man. And you know how it is easy, man. You can tell people stuff. But people look at you, depending on how they like you, they want to put you on a like meter. They want to put you on the like meter. And they gauge off the like meter on how much respect they want to give off what you're talking about. Hey, man, we just supporting the fighter. That's all. It don't have nothing to do with us personal, but they try to make it personal. We tried to tell him, man, Bud was going to do that man something dirty on July 29th. He did. And then he turned around and did Canelo just as dirty, in my opinion. BG in the building. What it do, man? He said he just finished getting a haircut. He said just now finished getting a haircut, man. The turmoil is what they thrive on, like women, OG. Yeah, for sure. I agree. It's about dividing and capitalizing off of fans. I don't think the fans are really indulging in the media like they used to. Like we had two of the biggest fights in the last several years, even when it comes to the heavyweight division. You had Fury and Usyk. I mean, you had some heavyweight fights out there, and you had two big fights with Crawford. I mean, two big fights with Crawford. And it just seems like the boxing media, they was mediocre in providing it the type of exposure that it needed. They was mediocre in the effort that they put in. It wouldn't get max scores. It wouldn't get top scores for real. If you was being evaluated as a journalist on how you carried out the media, the way you spoke on this media event, on trying to highlight it to the boxing fans, trying to sell this fight as being one of the most highlighted fights, one of the most important boxing matches of this era. Did a poor job. They wasn't buying it. They just wasn't getting up and standing up. It didn't frenetic the crowd, yo. It just didn't hit them upside the head and wake them up like it's supposed to. YouTube boxing been there, jealous fans on. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah, like Coach Malachi. But get let me see. But get both brothers and teams on this channel. Mill City. Hey man. Hey, WCS couldn't do that. I wouldn't waste my time to do that type of shit. I try to retire from responding to people, you know. Coach isn't the problem, he's the solution. Unbiased is better. Hey, we're not gonna get into another channel on here. Y'all feel some type of way about Coach, just say it's about Coach on his freaking channel, man. For real. Respectfully. Everybody's gonna have their difference of opinion, for real. Damn, I would hope you didn't say that. Damn. I hope he returned, man. Real talk. Rolly seemed like he would do some Keith Thurman type shit. I don't know, man. I hope Brian Norman get a shot at Rolly. What up, Blue Hustle? How you feeling, bro? Salute to you. What's up, Quickly? Salute. Salute. Hey, y'all chill with putting that other fight, other channels in the chat, man. Why y'all doing? I haven't been on live in a minute. We don't need to put the other channels in the chat, yo. Just let them be. See what I said about, you know, how media is grimy. You know, I haven't been on for a minute, but I definitely ain't trying to talk about no other channel and what they got going on. You feel me? Them versus None won't ever be forgotten. Yeah, it was a good fight, man. That I can say, it was a real good fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, appreciate y'all, man. I'm gonna get up out of here and salute to those who pulled up. Let me see. Let me go back up for a second. Yeah, shout out to the hottest chat in the MFN game, man. Y'all continue to support. I appreciate everyone who pulled up. We'll do it again. I'm out. Peace.